Before we get into this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Everything we do here is grounded in historical survival, not modern hype. Today's subject may be the most important survival lesson history offers. The first 24 hours decide almost everything. Long before rescue timelines, gear checklists, or survival manuals existed, people learned this the hard way. If the first day went wrong, the outcome was usually sealed. Across centuries of exploration, warfare, and disaster, survival was rarely determined by endurance over weeks. It was determined by decisions made in the first hours. Why the first day mattered more than any other? The first 24 hours shaped the environment you'll be forced to live in. Shelter choices, energy expenditure, and location all harden into constraints. Once fatigue sets in, correcting early mistakes becomes nearly impossible. Historical accounts show that people who survived immediately shifted from reaction to control. They slowed down, they assessed, they stabilized. Those who rushed to do something often locked themselves into worsening conditions. Survival isn't about momentum, it's about containment. The greatest killer in the first day is panic-driven effort. People move too far, burn too much energy, and expose themselves to weather while chasing certainty. Arctic explorers often perished not because they lacked shelter, but because they tried to continue travel after losing bearings. Desert travelers walked through peak heat because they feared stopping. Soldiers separated from units tried to catch up and collapsed before nightfall. The first day punishes urgency. Survivors learn to suppress it. History shows that the first priority was always physiological stabilization. Warmth, hydration, and rest mattered more than navigation or signaling. People who tried to solve the entire problem immediately often ignored their bodies. Those who survived protected core temperature, limited sweating, ate early, and rested before exhaustion arrived. Once the body fails, no skill compensates. Early travelers understood this instinctively. They took care of themselves before taking care of the problem. Shelter built in the first 24 hours often became the shelter people died in or survived in. Poor site selection, low ground, wind exposure, damp soil couldn't be fixed later. Historical survivors chose shelter locations conservatively. They favored dryness over concealment, wind protection over proximity to routes, and early construction over pushing on. The first shelter didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be survivable. One of the clearest historical patterns is that most people who died moved too much on day one. They treated uncertainty as a signal to travel rather than stabilize. Survivors moved only with purpose. They marked locations. They returned to known points. And they avoided irreversible movement until conditions improved. The first day was about creating options, not using them. Survivors imposed routine immediately. Fixed times for rest, food and shelter tasks created structure when stress threatened judgment. Military survival accounts emphasized this repeatedly. Routine reduced panic, conserved energy, and maintained clarity. It also prevented small problems from compounding. Chaos kills faster than hunger. In the first 24 hours, signaling was deliberate, not frantic. Survivors conserved signaling energy and chose methods that could be sustained. Flares fired too early, fires built too large, and signals placed without visibility often wasted effort. Survivors waited until signaling could be effective. They assumed time was an ally, not an enemy. The first 24 hours aren't about heroics. They're about discipline. People who survived didn't solve everything. They prevented things from getting worse. They stopped early. They rested sooner than felt necessary. They protected the body. They created shelter and routine. They resisted the urge to flee uncertainty. That's how survival was won. If you want more historically grounded survival knowledge like this, subscribe to the channel and share this episode with someone who thinks survival is about endurance. History tells a different story, and it's one worth remembering.